once again to Harrington Park International Academy, and now we are going to be treating Bryophyta, which is the 7th part of our topic 2 in the biology syllabus. Alright, good. Now, first thing I want us to note about the Bryophyta is that they are referred to as the amphibians. They are the amphibians of the animal kingdom. Of the plant kingdom rather. Amphibians of the plant kingdom. Yes, that's the first thing I need to know. Now, these guys, Bryophytas, they take part in autotrophic nutrition as usual because they are plants. Autotrophic nutrition because they are plants. Now, what they have now is not a true root. Unlike Talophytes that don't have roots, they just thallus. Bryophytes have some things that mimic plants that make them look like real plants. You understand? So we say they have leaf-like structures. They have leaf-like. They have stem-like, and they also have root-like structures. Now, it's not enough for you to just know all these names like root-like, stem-like. You need to know the root-like structure has a name. That thing that is not a leaf but looks like a leaf in a bryophyte, we call it a phyllid. We call it a phyllid. Now, we call it a phyllid. Why the stem-like structure refer to it as a collid. A collid. Then the root-like structure is referred to as a rhizoid. A rhizoid. So you can see there, they don't have leaf. What they have is something that looks like a leaf, and the name of that thing is phyllid. They don't have stem. Even this phyllid does not have venation. You know, normally leaves have venation. They don't have venation, and they don't have vascular bundles. There's no xylem inside the leaf-like structures. You understand? Because generally these guys are non-vascular plants. Talophytes don't have talophytes we discussed earlier. They are also non-vascular. Bryophytes are as well also non-vascular. The first vascular plant and the next we'll talk about, which are the pteridophytes. You understand? So for now we don't have vessels yet, so they are non-vascular. And because they are non-vascular, that's why they are phyllid, which is the leaf-like structure. That's why they do not have xylem. Are you getting me now? In them. So they are non-vascular. And when we say they are non-vascular, it means lack xylem and phloem. Yes. Are we there now? So basically, this is what you need to grab early. One thing again I needed to know is why they call these guys the amphibian of the plant kingdom. Now, these guys, unlike talophytes were aquatic. These guys are terrestrial. It's just that they are found in moist terrestrial environment. Moist terrestrial environment or habitat. Are we there now? Found in moist terrestrial habitat. But talophytes were aquatic. So you can see that the bryophytes are like plants that have migrated now and they are finding their establishment on the terrestrial habitat. Are you there now? Good. Now, why can't we now conclusively say that they are the first successful terrestrial plants? They are not the first successful terrestrial plants. Why? Because these guys, these bryophytes, whenever they want to reproduce, they need water. And that's why they are referred to as amphibian. They live on land, but some part of their biological processes are still dependent on the aquatic life, or the aquatic body. Are you there now? So yeah, we'll say now that they are referred to as the amphibian of the plant kingdom. Why? That explains this point as well. The reason is because their reproduction is water dependent. So they depend on water for their reproduction. That's very simple. That's just it. Now, these bryophytas that we are discussing here, these bryophytas are divided into 3 classes. Bryophytas. bryophytas are divided into three major classes. Three major classes. And we'll be talking about them one after the other. Yes, they're divided into three major classes. So what are the three major classes that we have? We have the liverworts. You must have heard of that, the liverworts. But because of this exam, JAMB, you can see in the syllabus what they wrote here was Marchantia. Now the Marchantias are the liverworts. So here now under liverwort, I'll write two names that you should be conversant with because of this exam. Is that you see them write liverwort, or you see them make mention of something they call Hepaticopsida, which is a major group of the liverworts, or is even the same thing as saying liverwort. And you also have another name that you should converse and that still links with these liverworts. Are you getting me now? And that's the Marchantia. The Marchantia. So when you hear Marchantalis, that we're talking about the Marchantia Hepaticopsidas, which are still liverworts. So any way you see any of these names is still linking to liverworts. Are you there now? Good. All right. So that's one of the members of the Bryophyta. Another member of the Bryophyta I want you to know is the hornworts. The hornworts. These hornworts, you see them call it Anthoceratopsida. Anthoceratopsida. So they call it the Anthoceratopsida. So these Anthoceratopsidas are still hornworts, but we're not going to be discussing Anthoceratopsida here in O level. The concept of Anthoceratopsidas will be discussed in A level lectures, like our JUPE programs or our IGMBs. All right. Now, lastly, we now have the last one that we call moss plants. That is your moss. Are you there now? This moss, you see them sometimes call it Bryopsidas, or you see them call it Brachymenium. And as you can see in your syllabus, in the highlight of the syllabus, it was Brachymenium they called it. So we have the Brachymenium, also known as Bryopsidas, or your moss plants. Sometimes you even see them call it musci. You understand? So that's that for that. On the board here, what you see us presenting are the ones that JAMB asked us to present from the syllabus, which is mosses and liverworts, that's Brachymenium and Marchantia. You know, mosses are as good as Brachymeniums, that's the Bryopsidas. Then you have liverworts, which are the Marchantias. Are we there now? Now, these your liverworts, that's these guys here. These guys have something we call a thalloid. It has a thalloid. Now this thalloid is like a thin, flat, undifferentiated leaf structure. So that's this part that is here. That's this part you see on the ground here. I get it now. That is what we call thalloid. So these guys have thalloid. So it's from the thalloid that you will see what do you call it? Outgrowths. These outgrowths here, which are like filaments. They are stem-like structures. Is that how you call them, filaments, or call them stem? Or we know it's not a true stem, right? We already know that the name of their stems are colleagues. So these are like colleagues. Are you there now? And at the end of all the colleagues, are you there now? You will see their reproductives. That's what will determine if it's a male or a female. So at the end, you will see either, let me not write that here, it's general. So in their reproductive structures, they usually, whether you are a Marchantia or you are a Bryopsida or you are an Anthoceratopsida, you must have acegonium or antheridium. So the acegonium is like the female-like structure, and that one is producing the what? Is producing the egg. While the antheridium is the male-like structures that will be producing the sperm. Yeah, so antheridium is as good as like testes if you link it with humans, while acegonium is like the what do you call it, the ovaries, if you link it to humans as well. So good. So you have the stem. So the stem or the college will now be the one to bear or hold the reproductives there. So you to bear or anchor the reproductives. So these ones here, Archegonium and Antheridium, they are usually for what they call it, for sexual reproduction. Now, bryophytes can do sexual and asexual. They do asexual by spore formation. They do sexual by the normal means we talked about, either isogamy, or you have oogamy, or you do anisogamy. We've discussed that earlier in the previous lecture. So it's the same thing happening here. So but for your most plants, and what you have there is you have what you call a gametophyte, a conspicuous gametophyte that looks like a leaf. And then now in this one here, you have the vertical gametophyte. The leaf-like regions here are the gametophyte. Same thing with this one, these are the gametophyte. So you have the vertical gametophyte idea now that is joined to the sporophyte. So this upper part here is the sporophyte. Good. Now there's something we call JAMB. All these things here that are on these places here, they are called JAMB. They are used for asexual reproduction. So let's quickly note that direct from the labeling. I can put that direct from the labeling. So we have all these structures here. They are called JAMB for asexual reproduction. Don't forget, asexual reproduction. Then these guys, this one here, let's imagine this for the female. If this is for female, so that means this will be an archegonium. And if this is for the male, then this one will be the what? Antheridium. How can you remember this antheridium? It's from the word anta. You understand? So you have the word anta. So you can easily use that to remember that, oh, from the word anta it means antheridium. So we have archegonium and then we have antheridium. Alright, good there. So then what did I call this leaf-like structure here? The leaf-like structure itself, we call it the what? We call it the thalloid. Are you there now? In this liverwort. But generally we know that this leaf-like one that you see in most, because this is most, this one is brachymenium, it's called phyllid. And generally in bryophyte, this thalloid is also like a phyllid. You also refer to it as a phyllid. So we are just trying to describe that the phyllid is thalloid, meaning that it does not have the normal differentiation you see in leaves like venations and all those things. Alright, so what's the name of this last part here we're going to be labeling? This down part is the rhizoid. It helps to anchor the bryophyte to the soil to gain nutrients, you understand, from the soil and water as well. Alright, good there. So what happens in this case here? In this case, the whole of this portion here, we refer to it as the gametophyte, while this portion here, we refer to it as the sporophyte. So I'll just put that here. This is the sporophyte. Yes. The sporophyte. But you can see clearly that the sporophyte is made up of what? The sporophyte is made up of this stem or stalk. Are you there now? It's like a stem-like structure, or what we call a stalk, which you can see clearly that we refer to as a collid. So this is the collid. Are we together there now? The stem-like structure, and all these gametophyte side is where you see leaf-like structures, which we call the phyllids. That the phyllids. Are you there now? And we said phyllids are what? Leaf-like. So leaf-like structure. And there on this top part here, this is where you find spores. Inside this place you see the spores. But this box, the packet itself, is what we call a capsule. So we have the capsule. Are we there now? So that's what we call the packet. And this stuff here is called a protostome. Yes. Yeah. We have a protostome, so people can call it the periostome. Let's just refer to it as the periostome. So the periostome, and this portion on the periostome that look like a cap, are you seeing that now? This portion here that look like a cap is covering the periostome is referred to as the operculum. So that operculum, whenever the operculum opens, there will be release of spores. Either the spores inside the capsule will be able to come out, but when it's closed, it contains the spores. The spores won't be able to come out. Now, this portion I marked in red is not present in all forms of moss or brachymenium. It's only in the females. Are you getting me now? It's called a calyptra. Yes. So the calyptra is responsible for inducing maturation within the spores, and is usually present in female brachymeniums or female moss plants. So what do we call these ones here? These ones here, we'll call them the what? The machantia. So these are the machantia. This one here are the machantia. Yes. While this one here is the brachymenium. Brachymenium. Yes. So when we say brachymenium, we're referring to moss. So this is the moss. And this one, as we say machantia, this is the liverwort. Alright, good. So there we have it. Now, the life cycle of your bryophyte is similar to the life cycle of your thallophyte. So to just understand the life cycle of our bryophyte, just go and watch our lecture, the previous lecture, that's the part 6 on thallophyte. What kind of life cycle do they exhibit? They exhibit what we call haplontic life cycle, like we spoke about earlier. So we have them exhibit what we call haplontic life cycle. So in haplontic life cycle, what did you say? The gametophyte stage is dominant, which is the haploid stage. So this stage here is dominant and independent on the sporophyte. As you can see, the sporophyte depends on the gametophyte because you can see it found its anchorage on the gametophyte to derive nutrients in order to also produce its spores effectively. So the process there is you have a gametophyte, right? If you remember, we have a gametophyte. The gametophyte is N in diploid number, that is haploid N. And we say via mitosis they release their gametes. Are you there now? So the antheridium will release the sperm, which will have a chromosomal number of N, and then the archegonium will also release an egg, which will have a number a chromosomal number of N as well. You understand? Via mitosis, it has to be the same molecular chromosomal number as the parents. So since the gametophyte parent is N, so the gamete will also be N and N. So when N and N jam, that is the male gamete N and the female gamete N fuse or fertilize, you have 2N. Now, we said it there that water is needed. Very important. Now, the water that is needed is to enable the sperm swim to the egg. Are you getting me now? And that happens in that process is called chemotaxism. Chemotaxism is a chemical signaling system. So chemotaxism. How? The question there you should be asking yourself is, how will the sperm know the location of the eggs, right? Because it just got released to water. Now this is what happens. The egg that's released in the archegonium of the female brachymenium or the female bryophyte has a chemical that the sperm usually trails. That means it likes the scent of the smell and the scent, and it tries to find where it is. I get me now. And that chemical is called what? It's called malic acid. Malic acid. And in some of them they produce cyrenine, and some of them will produce some kind of peptides. So these three things are chemicals that are responsible for initiating that chemotactic movement the sperm exhibit while trying to swim towards the egg that is produced in the archegonium of the Bryophyta. Are you there now? So in conclusion, the whole process, the whole life cycle, are you getting now, of the bryophyte is exactly the same thing going on in that of the thallophyte. So after the gametophyte, you have the gamete fusion. After the gamete fusion that will cause fertilization, you have the zygote, and the zygote will be 2N, right? because of the N plus N. So now that the zygote is 2N, the zygote will now form the sporophytes. Are you there now? And it's forming the sporophyte via what? Via mitosis, because the sporophytes will also be the same number as the as the zygote, which will be 2N. So after that, the sporophytes will produce spores using meiosis. Are you there now? So automatically, since it will produce using meiosis, and I told you that the sporophyte is 2N, so if you are doing mitosis, are you getting me now? It would have been 2N, but now I said using meiosis. So meiosis will half it, which will be N. Is in the previous video. So what you have there is now what? What you have there is now a haploid spore. The haploid spore will now be the one to develop again to form a new gamete. So that's that for that, Henry Impact International Academy. Once again, do well to subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so that when we drop content like this, you'll be able to gain access to this our fabulous lecture.